Utah, we have LaunchUp.
So next, for our In the Weeds, a good friend of mine, Chris Knudsen, is going to talk about marketing for startups. Chris and I have known each other for a long time. We met in Florida on our missions, and he was the co-founder of my first company, which is GearTrade.com, with me. And you know, I had some ideas about these ski swaps online and ski trade, and I still remember sitting down with Chris down at Los Hermanos down in Provo and saying, I've got these ideas, and we both jumped in and we went out and went to trade shows and quit our jobs and raised a bunch of money and lost all the money and fired all of our employees, and it was a fun ride. Learned a lot of lessons. And you know what? We hung on long enough to sell the assets and break even, and a lot of the things we saw and learned there, you know, is what led me to Doba. So Chris definitely has seen marketing from so many different angles at a lot of companies in the last 10, 12 years. And so to talk about it for startups, he's the perfect person. He currently works as the VP of Marketing and Biz Dev for SEO.com. And so Chris, come on up and tell us about some marketing.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Dave. That was great advice. I appreciate the opportunity that I have to be here with you guys tonight to talk about the topic of startup marketing. And I guess the thing that I really want to impress upon you about the things I'm going to talk about in the next 10 minutes is that I'm going to present a lot of ideas to you that we could really go about 100 feet deep on. We're going to go about 6 inches. So we're not going to get into a ton of detail, and also the way I did these PowerPoints is not the way I would normally do a PowerPoint. I left a lot of information on there for you, so hopefully, Jeremy, you're going to post this later, and people can go back and use the PowerPoint presentation as a reference for services I'm going to talk about that you can go to. So I'll just get here. We're going to talk about doing the web for cheap, getting attention, branding. We'll touch a little bit about social media, and I'm going to give you some parting thoughts. So the first thing is the web. My idea of marketing is that marketing is a support function for generating revenue in a business. It's a really simple concept. So whether you're doing that through branding activities, lead generation activities, which would be like list building, public relations, some of those types of things, ultimately at the end of the day, you're marketing because you want to make money, right? That's a really interesting concept. It's lost on a lot of people in Silicon Valley, actually, if you can believe that. So you're marketing to make money, okay, to create brand awareness or just awareness in general, and hopefully that awareness turns into $1, all right? Part of that awareness, part of that marketing is building a website. I can tell you, because I see this every day, all day long at SEO.com, even now, today, if you want to have a professional website development company, an SEO company, somebody like that come in and build a website for you, even a brochure site, expect to pay $10,000 and up, at least for that type of a website, for all the design work, all the content on the back, and the content, everything that goes into it. Expect to pay a lot of money to do that. Now, if you're sitting there as an entrepreneur and you're saying, I don't have that type of money, there's a lot of things that you can do. The cheapest thing that I say is to go out and use a system like WordPress as your back end. WordPress is typically used as a blogging platform, but you can use it to build. We build a lot of websites on that platform. And even above and beyond that is a service called Pagely, where you can go there for $15 a month to use WordPress on the back end, and it's kind of a plug and play. You don't have to know program or anything like that to go in and basically set up a website. That's kind of the first step, I always think, because in this day and age, if you don't have a website, you really don't have a business. People won't lend you any legitimacy if you say, oh yeah, here's my company, but you don't have a website, okay? The next piece that I like to talk about, and I'm maybe a little biased, is the SEO piece, which is if you're going to build a site, people need to be able to find the site. SEO is one way. SEO is search engine optimization. That's one way that people can find it, okay? I'll talk about a couple of other ways in a minute, but if you want to do it yourself, you can do it with cheaply with services like Boostability. Have you guys heard of Boostability? It's a small little company down in Utah Valley. They've got a really nice do-it-yourself SEO software. Or you can even come to companies like SEO.com. We'll start working with companies in our SMB division for as little as $300 a month. That was really shameless self-promotion, or I apologize for that. So branding, let's just talk about this for a couple of minutes. I often see a lot of times And the concept of branding, well, I'll talk about this in a second, but just because you don't have any money doesn't mean you need to have a cheap brand. Now, a lot of people, when they think about brand, they think about what? A logo. Okay, a logo is just an element of your brand. It doesn't have to be your brand, okay? It's just an element of your branding. So it doesn't have to be cheap, okay? Just because you don't have any money. One of the things I think about in this regard as well is, and I'm sorry, I kind of skipped around on the bullet points, but and this is a great way to get attention for your brand and for your business, but also for your website and drive traffic, is I like the idea of you being an expert. And this is a very good model to follow. So if you're going out in an industry, you need to be an expert. You need to come to events like LaunchUp or events in your industry. You need to get on panels. Trade shows are really expensive, but if you get on a panel, guess what? You get in for free. Okay, so then you're there for free, you're on a panel, you're talking, you're out there. Then you can go walk around the trade show floor, meet a bunch of people, and you basically get in for no money, all right? Blogging, being active in blogging, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Commenting on blogs, being engaged in the conversation, utilizing social media, I'll get to that in a second as well. Your URL, kind of back to the web design piece, I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, apologize for that, but your URL is really important, okay? Don't let your URL dictate what your brand is going to be or the name of your company is going to be. It's important if you can get the name of your company and your URL, then absolutely do that, but don't let it dictate your branding. SEO.com, two examples of this. SEO.com is the company that it is today, growing hundreds of percent year over year. Oh, and by the way, we are hiring. Our guys would kill me if I didn't mention that, because we're hiring like crazy in this economy right now. We really need good SEO people. Scott, am I lying about that? He works at SEO.com back there. We really need good applicants to come into SEO and work with us. So just a little plug there. But SEO.com would not be the company it was today. Before it was SEO.com, it was a company called Web Targeted. If it were still Web Targeted, we wouldn't have Dell, we wouldn't have those types of contracts we have today. We get a ton of traffic and a ton of business and a ton of leads because we are SEO.com. So our name is everything to us. It's been everything to our business. Amazon was going to be called, does anybody know what Amazon was going to be called? Cadabra. Okay, I don't know if Amazon, if it was Cadabra, I don't know if it would be as powerful as Amazon. We could probably debate that, but I think that Amazon's more powerful. Social media is more than just a Facebook and a Twitter account, okay? A lot of people, especially if you talk to PR firms today, that's what they think social media is, all right? Social media is engaging in conversation. If you're out there in your industry on social media, following people on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, and just kind of seeing what they're saying, and you're not engaging, you're just a social media troll. So engage in the conversation. That's how you get out there. That's how you get known. I like using social media as well for public relations. There's great services like PR Web. And I have this thing on here about picking a fight. I mean that in a politically correct way. It's starting a debate. If you find people out there in your industry talking about things on blogs, on social media, get out there and engage in that. Start a debate. Get a conversation going. And finally, I've been saying a lot, but just get out there and blog. It's $0 to start a blog. You can go on Blogspot or one of those services. If you have no money right now, you can start blogging, you can start driving SEO traffic there, you can do a lot of really good things. Okay, so some final thoughts. How am I doing, Jer? Time. Oh, good. I need help. Okay, I need help. That's like a really important thing to learn how to say. We all need help. I need help. Jeremy needs help still. Everybody out here who's really experienced, they still need help. They still seek out people who can help them and give them advice on their businesses that they're working on. Can I get your advice? Okay. Most guys who are entrepreneurs or CEOs or VPs like me in a larger company in marketing or sales or development, whatever it may be, they're happy to talk to you even for just a couple of minutes to give you some advice if you need it, okay? So you walk in and say, hey, I just need some advice. I'm doing this thing. Here's my question. Almost always more than happy to talk to you. I don't think I've ever gone up to somebody before and said, hey, can I get your advice? And they've told me, no, go away. Never happened to me, and I've done that a lot, okay? So learn to kind of put the pride away a little bit, walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. Can I get a little bit of advice from you? I'm wondering about this on marketing, wondering about this on sales, whatever it may be. Consider trading your services. A lot of companies start out where the founders are trying to build something, they're trying to code something or create a product, and they're doing consulting work. I've seen that a ton. It's a really good idea, actually. They're out doing consulting work and they're getting paid doing this other thing, but then they're going in at the end of the day and they're working on their other project. So it's like, I got to keep food on the table, but this thing's supporting my development of the product I'm working on. So if you're doing those types of things, consider a trade. Events like LaunchUp, putting them on yourself or your industry, it's actually, this is pretty cheap, right, Jer? It's a pretty cheap event, especially if you held it down. This room is like, for a nonprofit, is like $100 or something like that. We do it down at SEO, we do it for free for LaunchUp. So it's cheap, and you may not have heard this, but events like this are actually the best form of lead generation, okay, statistically speaking. I won't get into the other, let me skip over a couple of these things. There's just some little things that I threw in, but I didn't talk at all about sales, the relationship between marketing and sales. I could talk about that for days, but marketing and sales coexist together. Okay, it's like a great marriage. And if you have a totally perfectly integrated sales and marketing system, then really interesting, great, lovely things happen. And I wish I could say a lot more about that, but I can't. Test and measure, I love reverse IP. That's just something I threw in there because I was thinking about it at the time I created the slide. But there's a lot of cheap talent out there right now, okay? How am I doing? Okay, there's a lot of cheap talent out there right now because of this economy. There's a lot of people who are unemployed and they're looking for work. So they've got their stuff out on Craigslist, they got their stuff out on places like Find a Coder, and you can find a lot of people who are willing to work with you for a lot less money than you think. You just have to go out and ask. Ask the question, ask people, ask for help, start talking to people. That's probably the best advice I can give you. And you'll find at the end of the day that actually getting your startup launched is a lot cheaper than you think it would have to be. So that's 6 inches of about 100 feet, and I wish we could go a lot deeper than that, but I think I'm out of time. And I hope it was useful information. Thanks. By the way, that's my contact information right there on the slide. Maybe if Jeremy could leave up just for a second. If you need help type of guy, the best way to reach me is at that email right there at Gmail. And you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook there as well. But please, reach out, send an email, call people that you know that are going to give you good advice, experts, and it'll be well for you. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Chris.